You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. This is the time of year where we joke about the feigned indignance of from sports talk show hosts over random summertime list, because summertime lists really don't matter. One of the things that was more interesting than just a random summertime list, though, is when ESPN does their future rankings, and they do this with their football power rankings. These are metrics that they use, so it is an algorithm. This isn't just people spitting out their opinion. They look at recruiting rankings, and they look at transfer portal rankings and success over the last 3 seasons to project success over the next 3 seasons, and a lot of different metrics that they use. Offensive and defensive efficiency, returning production. There's a lot of different things that go in. They pump it into the computer and spit in the algorithm. It spits out the rankings, and they try to predict how teams are going to be over the next 3 years. Well, it's the last couple of years, the number one team has been Alabama. This year, Alabama has been unseated. The team projected as the future, the number one team over the next 3 years is, as you might guess, the Georgia Bulldogs. And by the way, they do rank quarterbacks, future quarterback rankings, future offense, future defense, and then the future team rankings. So Georgia is projected number one, followed by the aforementioned Alabama. So Alabama just drops a spot behind Georgia in the future rankings. Not a tremendous surprise. It's all the teams that you would expect. They've got Ohio State at number 3, and Michigan follows them at number 4. So a couple of Big Ten teams right there, 3 and 4. And remember, also of note is that over this time span, the SEC will expand, and also the Big Ten will expand, because you will have USC and UCLA in the Big Ten during this time span as well. Interestingly, LSU is number 5. Behind Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan. Next is LSU. And they note that LSU is never far away from a national title because of the personnel advantage. The location for high school recruits. LSU's done really well in the portal. On top of that, naming all the players that LSU has nabbed in the portal. The young talent that will be around for a couple of years, Harold Perkins, Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith, who obviously could go after this year. They talk about the short term for the offense with Jaden Daniels, and who knows what will be like after. But then some of the other young talent that they brought in on the offense, namely the offensive line. So for a lot of reasons, they look at LSU and like the Tigers a lot. The rest of the top 10, USC, Clemson, Penn State, a Tennessee 9, Florida State there at 10. I thought Tennessee at 9 is interesting because Tennessee has been woeful for the better part of 2 decades now. And they just had a very nice 11-win season. Can they continue to build upon that, I think, is a very real question. The macro of college football, but we'll see. I was thinking about this and seeing LSU at number 5, and I just thought, man, this is absolute garbage. It's a garbage list. And I can appreciate this isn't just plucked from the air, it's just not someone's opinion. There's metrics involved. But LSU at 5 is garbage. And it's not because they should be higher, and it's not because they should be lower. There's reason to believe LSU over the next 3 years could be, in aggregate, the 5th best team in college football, however you want to spit it out. The problem I have with this idea of trying to put this together is with the transfer portal, there is no way to measure that. We don't have a large enough sample size yet of what the transfer portal has meant for teams and how quickly that can cause a team's fortune to turn for the positive or for the negative. Look at Oklahoma and Southern Cal. Now, I'll grant you this is an extreme example. But Caleb Williams was a 5-star number 1 quarterback in the country at Oklahoma. He left with Lincoln Riley to Southern Cal, and Southern Cal went from a sub-500 team to a double-digit win team, and Caleb Williams wins the Heisman Trophy. Oklahoma went from a perennial playoff team to a sub-500 team, and there's a very real question about Brent Venables and his future there in Norman if he was actually the right guy, because of one guy. If Caleb Williams had stayed at Oklahoma, Oklahoma and Southern Cal probably have diametrically opposed seasons. But that can happen in the portal era. But it's impossible to predict. You're not looking at high school talent and projecting how they may do. LSU. I mean, you don't need me to tell you this, but Brian Kelly inherited a team that had 39 scholarship players available for the bowl game, had about 50 on scholarship, and he had to remake an entire roster, and he did so through the portal. And the portal giveth, the portal taketh away. What if you didn't have Jaden Daniels a year ago? I know there's a lot of this fan base that's high on Garrett Nussmeier. Maybe Nuss would have been great. Maybe he would have been an erratic turnover machine. I don't know. What I do know is because of the transfer portal, you remade your secondary. You were able to supplement your offensive line. You got your starting quarterback. I mean, you're not what you were a year ago without the transfer portal. Notre Dame's fortunes this year look dramatically different because of Sam Hartman. So do Wake Forest's, by the way. TCU in 2021 was 5-7. A year later, they're playing for the national championship in year one under Sonny Dykes. He's not a magician. He's a great coach. He's not a magician. But they were able to remake their run. They had a good quarterback in Max Duggan, who kept growing up and maturing, got healthy. And you remade your roster in the transfer portal. So you can do it dramatically. Your fortunes can change dramatically in college football one way or the other. That trying to predict what the next 3 years are going to be like is fruitless. Because a year ago at this time, nobody would have had TCU sniffing a national championship game. But there they were. LSU was a projected 500 football team a year ago. They won the SEC West. Why? Because you had a competent coach who took advantage of the transfer portal. It's just a fruitless effort trying to project in today's college football. The standard bearers are what they are. Georgia will be there as long as Nick's in Tuscaloosa. Alabama will be there. You feel good about Lincoln Riley in L.A., and of course you feel good about LSU because it's LSU. And then there's Ohio State and Michigan and all that stuff. But trying to project anything beyond that is just a complete waste of time. There's no sense in even trying to do it until we get a much greater sense of what the transfer portal does for and against teams, for and to teams. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.